Shall we do a proper intro so we can cut this as like a podcast?
Yeah, we can try and cut it. All right. So, hello everybody. Welcome
Shall we
to
make sure the chat can hear us?
40k night. It's Thursday night. It's ladies' night, and I'm here with two glorious gentlemen. I'm joined by a Warmup player who likes his rules crystal clear, and his hair has lethal weapon insurance. How are you, Tom?
I need to cut it, dude. Like, I've been away from home for too long. It's becoming a problem.
Yeah. How long has it been since you had it cut?
2 months or something like that. Let's have a look.
Okay.
You can probably measure by his two chins.
Yeah.
The hair on the
chins. Many chins.
And you've just heard our second co-host for today. He can be, some describe him in a series of ones and zeros, specifically 2 zeros with a 1 in between. And his name is just like the penis. Dick, how are you?
I'm fine, guys. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, hopefully everyone's piled back in the chat again, or we've just lost all our viewers because I fucked up the technology the first time.
It doesn't matter. Everyone just listens to us for the audio anyway.
Yeah, no one wants to see our faces, really.
I know. Exactly. I never look at your faces.
No. Too busy painting, looking at what you're painting.
Yeah, he'd had enough in Nando's.
All right, so the topic for today's show is the Spaceman Codex. We're going to have just a little look at that. We're not going to go through all the rules in details because other podcasts and YouTube channels have already kind of done that already. So we're just going to sort of talk about our thoughts on the Codex and talk about some cool shit. But we're going to first off talk a little bit about the capital city bloodbath that happened at the weekend.
You mean the Canadian blizzard?
The Canadian what?
The Canadian blizzard of August 2019.
Yes.
Won by an American, in fact.
No, he's not an American.
Yes, he is.
Who, Jim Vessel? No. Spoilers, guys. Spoilers.
Jim Vessel is Canadian.
Right, so this weekend, Rob and Scrivo were lucky enough to be flown out to Canada to cover the capital city bloodbath. And
something no one's upset about at all.
Sorry?
It doesn't matter.
Someone's upset about
it. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter.
I assume you all wanted to be there.
Yes, I would have been there had I not had a wedding to go to. I would just miss it. Because it looked like a really awesome event. So, and the guys did a fantastic job covering it. By the end of things, they'd really got into a good rhythm. They were putting their heart and soul into it. And yeah, it seemed really good. What do you guys think about the event and the coverage?
I loved it. I mean, I didn't have that much time to actually watch it, but I watched the final 2 games, and I felt that they were really putting their hearts and souls into it.
They really were, literally were.
Yeah, literally. Lots of blood, sweat, and tears were spilled to bring you this message.
By the way, guys, on the video, I'm really sorry if the cameras keep going around. I don't know what's happening with Sky.
Oh, is it still doing
but the cameras just keep resizing randomly. It's not me. I'm honestly trying to keep a hold of it.
Oh no, never mind.
Just a quick shout out to Dude Day, who's subscribed again, 21 months in a row. What a fucking hero. And then to Scrivo, he's subscribed for 22 months. He's one up in Dude Day. And then also a shout out to Atticus UK. I think is a new subscriber. So thank you, Atticus.
Did you notice that Scrivo's subscription was almost as long as his marriage?
Really?
Oh,
well,
he's been married to Rob that long.
Yeah. Well, his marriage to Rob has gone on forever, I assume. But there's supposed to be a certain Scrivet in his life for nearly 4 years.
Oh yes. So shout out to the Scrivet. Hello, if you're watching.
Yeah.
I don't know why he would be, but sure.
I think most of my time today is going to be resizing Dick's camera.
It's okay. While you're doing that, I can go off on the capital.
Once you do it, you can also write my name properly because it's not D-I-O. Nah, it's not the way you write my nickname, man.
All right, ruined it.
Well, this is actually an Honest Wargamer tradition that we spell everyone's name wrong because Rob had my name wrong for months.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
did
he
he?
had 2Ks in
Oh, never
Nikos.
mind. Whatever.
So Tom, what did you see much
So,
of the Capital City Bloodbath?
so I saw 4 of the games. I think I can't remember which ones. I thought the coverage was really, really, really good. I was talking to Val on I think the Saturday night, and he was beating himself up about him getting tongue-tied a little bit. But I thought the way he did the infield reporting was so natural that it was just like having a normal conversation. And anytime, like it looked like he'd done something that he thought he was like going to be a bit annoyed about, like it was honestly fine. He like straight, and it flowed very, very well with Val, and he was very, very good, particularly at going and getting the interviews as well. So he was getting a lot of those done as well. I thought he did a fantastic job there. I thought, especially a big shout out to Rob and Falcon as well, because what you noticed that they were doing the entire time was it was just those two casting every single game. And I know that I haven't casted any games, actually. I know you have Nikos, but you can attest to when we were doing the Last Chance Open, we had the casters rotating around because it can be quite a tiring job, right? And so they ended up doing all 6 games over the weekend, and they kept the same level of enthusiasm going, and it was absolutely spectacular. Really, really enjoyed the stream.
Well, what was amazing, like literally amazing, was that both of the games I saw, so I hope it's the same for the other 4, was that the coverage wasn't just saying what happened, like, or explaining certain moves, but actually going into tactics and think, well, he's doing this right now. He's probably gonna go on and do this stratagem, and that was that's something I've never seen, not even in a YouTube report. I think.
Yeah.
It was
So
it was really good quality commentating from Rob and the Falcon. Obviously, Rob's done it many times; he's pretty experienced. But the Falcon, I think it was his first time doing it, and I think they had like a really good rapport between them, and really sort of struck a good chord with each other. So yeah, it was really, really good top level commentary, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, I hope I can go over next year and show
him up,
everyone.
Show him how it's done.
Well, no, to show all the players how to
play
properly
and how to actually play 40k.
Well, it was interesting to see like a couple of those games where people are using the things that they should be protecting as a screen and vice versa, and it happened in multiple games. And I was just like, oh no. That's
I use my Doomsday Archer screens all the time.
Terrible, and they have fly. And if you're playing against something like let's say a G-Stealer Horde or something like this, or Plague Bearers, where you need volume of fire more than quality of fire, and then if they get locked down, you can just jump them out, and it's not really an issue. They're fine as that. But if you're playing against something where you do need the quality of fire, like let's say 3 Gallants running at you, you don't want to stick your Doomsday Arcs on the front because you can't even wrap around the thing like anything with your knights because you've got such a big base, and then you need to get them firing for as many turns as possible. But you get my point, right?
Yeah, I do. Did you see the last game as well?
I did. Yeah, I saw.
It made us cringe a little bit, didn't it?
What, Eric is running his back
just like
basically
going.
I was like, what the hell are you doing?
Go, have the game. I'm just going to put 2 knights right in front of that Khorne Demon Prince. What could possibly happen?
And all the smites.
Yeah.
I mean, Eric's an old teammate of mine, so he's a decent player. I think he made a mistake that game, and I think he knows that as well. But let's say he does.
Like he can outrange him.
He did well with the explosions, though. That was
the problem is scoring, though, right? So one of the things Canadian players always do, and I've watched quite a lot of Canadian games this year because I went and wandered around the Seat Hall, and one of the things that they do is they will actually put themselves in harm's way immediately if it means that they're going to be getting objective points.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think he actually needed to do that game. What he can afford to do is he can afford to sit back off and shoot for 2 turns and then use his guardsmen as a screen and push them forwards, because what that means is now that the demons can't walk directly into his face, so he has to wade for a bunch of bodies to try and get to the center late game to start scoring those points. What he can do is sit off for 2 turns, and then turn 3 he has to go now. So even if he hasn't killed enough, he has to go, because if he gives Jim 3 or 4 turns, what's going to end up happening is Jim's just going to win the game because he's been in the center for too long. So you sit off for 2 turns, you then try and clear enough of a hole so that you can full tilt one of the knights forward, and then try and charge one of the demon princes and instantly knock it out, and then maybe you've got a shot. I'm not saying it's a likely win for Eric, but it's certainly more of a chance than running all your knights into his face.
Definitely.
I felt that he really thought that he had no other choice, basically, because he didn't have first turn.
Well,
he had to put all his eggs into one basket and just try and go balls out.
It just shows how much that Canadian players value their objective points, like in every turn, though. and sometimes it can
No,
bite you.
and
in
I
the ass
agree.
if
I
you
mean,
die.
objectives win the game, but
It does, but it's about knowing how many objectives you need to
Yeah,
score
but
to
you
win the
can't
game.
you can't win the game if you have no knights left.
In order to be winning the game, you don't need to beat your opponent in scoring all of your turns by like 1 point. So you don't need to like be ahead in every single turn. You can be down 2 turns and up in 4. It's like football. You only have to win by 1 goal. It doesn't matter if you concede 3 if you've scored 4.
This is true. Just give a shout out to Keithius. He says he's watching Game 5. It's the best coverage he's ever seen. So fantastic.
Excellent, yeah.
Budtastic guy.
It's definitely set the bar higher again.
Budtastic guy says the honest Wargamer coverage has spoiled me. It's really hard to watch other streams. So that's more compliments for those guys. And say hello to shout out to Chaos Swarm 1.
I mean, there was a stream this weekend where you couldn't hear the commentary because of the noise in the hall, right?
It was. And that's the stream with the biggest budget, right?
It was the stream with the biggest budget.
Yeah, it was. It's like
No, I haven't.
Yeah, just listening to the sound. Like I tuned into the Warhammer Live coverage for a little bit just to see what was going on. And the sound quality was vastly different. Like I know some people might say you tune in and you hear the atmosphere of the hall, but when you like listening to like the commentary Rob and the Falcon were doing, like you can just their voices were crystal clear, no distracting noise, and you got the atmosphere of the event by seeing the infield reporter in Val sort of showing you the event and talking to people from the event, which was way better than just hearing some crowd.
Here's some crowd like it's some kind of sporting event where all the crowd's watching the game rather than playing their own. But I mean, there's more to come out of that event. I think I'll talk about that a little bit more next week. But this week I think we'll leave it because there's quite a bit.
So should we move on to the main subject of the show? Just a quick shout out to Warhammer Rob and Tom Dix and Camelot.
Wait, what?
Tom Dix.
The chat.
I think he's a fan. I think he's a fan of
Dragon Ball Z Morph.
I was gonna say, he's a fan of us, dude.
Yeah. All right. So the main topic of the show today isn't just the fact that Dick's camera keeps enlarging itself. Clearly, it keeps getting excited and getting bigger every now and then. So the main subject is today.
It comes with the trade. I'm sorry.
So the main subject today is the new Space Marine 2.0 Codex that's come out. So my warm-up question for you guys is, obviously, the Space Marine Codex is generally the first codex that comes out at the start of every edition, but what was the first ever Space Marine you guys bought? Because basically every Warhammer player has to start with Space Marines, right?
I mean, you say that. I started with Eldar.
Wow. That explains a lot, really, doesn't it?
But I actually remember the first Marine I bought, and it was a box of Grey Hunters for Space Wolves, and I did it in April 2012. So quite late.
I don't believe that. That's not a truth.
Okay.
2012 was your first Space Marine ever.
Yep.
Nobody knew you were Space Marine before that.
I never bought a starter box because
were you playing Warhammer at this point?
So I was playing 40k. I started.
Wait, but you were like 12 in 2012.
Yeah, but that's beside the point. Yeah, I started when I was 9. So I bought them to play in Throne of Skulls in July 2012, and that's how I started competitive 40k, kind of.
Okay, so it's Space Wolves.
I wouldn't call with some Space Wolves, yeah. So I was playing the thing with the Long Fangs and the Grey Hunters and the Drop Pod and the Jaws of the World Wolf and that kind of stuff.
So Dick, what was your first Space Marine?
It's an interesting story, I think, because my first Space Marine, of course, was the single cast Space Marines you got in the paint starter set.
Okay,
remember those?
I have one sec.
There he goes. Has he got his camera? Is he gonna display his work to the chat?
Was it one of these?
Not to us, of course. We're not important enough. Yes, it's one of those.
Yes, one of those. No, these are even older, I think.
Oh dear.
Older than this?
No. Yes, this is it. Yeah.
Oh. There he is. I've kept this guy because I feel like it's one of those old things
it's like
you
your
get.
first dollar.
Well, yeah. It could be worth something one day. You never know. after the apocalypse and the world recovers and people start making war games again, it might be worth a mint.
It's worth something now. I mean, it's like 2 cents, but
I mean, I can't see it, but you could always sell it on eBay as pro painted.
Could do, yeah.
Definitely. But what I was going to say, and what in conjunction with those that starter set, I also got like all the extra Space Marine codexes. You know, the third edition Dark Angel Codex, the third edition Space Wolf Codex, Blood Angels. I had all of them, and the only reason why is that those addendum codexes, they cost like, I think it was, let's say, €15 compared to a full codex, which was like 30. So it was out of budget reasons that I bought all the tiny codexes.
Oh no!
Back when I was still young and had no money.
So one of the first Space Marine
works.
codexes I had was actually called Angels of Death. It was one that had a combined Dark Angels and Blood Angels codex. Really, really old school. It was pretty cool.
That's an old one, right?
So that's a big throwback. The old Angels of Death. Shout out to Fulgrimer, who's here. Just spotted him. And Aladdin Sane. Also in the chat.
Have you got a name right?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Right, so first thing we'll talk about is what's new about this codex, because it's quite a new style of codex. One of the things that I think is a big change in this codex, and obviously people have talked about it, it's not new, but they've kind of given you an incentive to be a mono codex, whereas before it was like you had benefits of taking a detachment of X from one codex, but then you could also have what then became soup. You could mix in Knights, Imperial Guard, and Marines into the same list. Whereas now there's an actual incentive and reason to have a pure Marine list with the tactical doctrines. You don't need to have all the same chapter. You could have a White Scars, Ultramarines, and made up chapter detachments in your army. As long as everyone has the Angels of Death rule, you've got an incentive to go that way. Do you guys feel like the incentive is strong enough that people will do that, or do you think people will still soup the new Space Marine stuff in?
It depends on your build, I think. I think if you build an army to maximize your doctrines, you could easily, you should be fine. But I think you can still soup so many good things that you don't really need to. I mean, one of my buddies who I play like every week, he plays he plays Imperial Soup, and he plays Dark Angels and Knights and all the Imperial stuff he can find. And he was very excited about doctrines until he noticed that you had to have an entire Space Marine army, and he was like, "Fuck it then."
Yeah, because I guess like Smash Captains used to be a thing that people just took 3 of, and I reckon that'll still be a thing, but maybe there'll be a better version like White Scars on bikes. So if you just have a White Scars on bike Supreme Command Detachment with 3 biker captains, you're not really going to miss the tactical doctrines in that point.
Well, exactly.
So my thing here is souped style Marines will still be souped, and this doesn't change anything. It just provides an incentive for people to actually take non-souped armies, right? Rather than just taking away the ability for you actually to soup with other things. I'm looking at the Ultramarines Doctrines rule, and it's the only exception I think where we saw soup with Marines that we probably won't see it as much now is when you were souping things like Space Wolves, Grey Knights, and Blood Angels together in one army, right? So
one army or one detachment, you mean?
One army. One army, and so there is a stipulation here because when I'm looking at the Scions of Guilliman rule, which is the tactical doctrine bonus you get when you're Ultramarines, you only get that if your entire army is Ultramarines.
Okay.
It's not just entire detachment; it's entire army. So when you're looking at the benefits for Ultramarines with their supplement and White Scars with their supplement, you need to. I don't think you'll be seeing those things souped with Grey Knights or with other things anyway. But it depends on what you're trying to build.
Nobody's using Grey Knights soup with anything.
Well, you say that the Russians were, and the Russians list did actually quite well at the ETC, so I wouldn't be surprised if you see a couple of those lists pop out because they're quite difficult.
But everybody knows the ETC isn't real Warhammer, so.
I know, right? No one.
No, it's a make-believe land. It's a make-believe land.
Exactly.
It's fake news.
In the world without Forge World.
Yeah, in a world without Forge World
and the Italian
and all kinds of other
printed codexes.
Ah, yes. Okay. So yeah, I still think the Marine detachments that you ended up seeing souped were just, as you say, the Smash Captains, which we'll still see. I think that's fine. I don't think Marine soup is necessarily a massive issue, though, as we've already said. Grey Knights and Marines, who cares about souping those into a big army? Because whatever you wanted from a soup, you generally got cheaper from another type of army, like Imperial Guard, Astra Militarum, or Adeptus Mechanicus if you wanted command points, or maybe you wanted just like a utility piece that does a specific role, which maybe you can take the White Scars guys now, or you could take Smash Captains. I still quite like the Smash Captains just because of the ability to jump up and deep strike back down and then charge, because it gives you some more flexibility.
Does the increased points for a Thunderhammer do anything for you in that regard?
No, I don't think it does.
No, I don't think so, because I think it's been balanced out by the +1 attack they get in the first round, and then there's other ways to get better strength and attacks on them now.
Well,
you don't see any new life for Power Fists?
You could do, but I don't think the damage is consistent because Power Fists are D3 damage.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And the flat 3 is just far too
nice,
valuable. Yeah. The question you have to ask is the job that I am needing done worth the amount of points I'm spending on that job getting done, right? And like, what's the exact numbers on the Thunderhammer increase? It's like, what, 5-10 points?
20. I think it went up like 20
point
points,
increase.
yeah.
So it went up 20 points. So now rather than spending like 100 points on your Smash Captain, you're spending 120.
Yeah.
Does it still threaten the knight? Yes, it definitely does.
Even more now.
It's amazing. I mean, they increased the points of a Thunderhammer by 21 points, I think it was, and it's still good enough to take. you guys didn't even flinch. You were like, "Yes, I'm definitely taking."
It does make me laugh.
It just means that you have more.
Yeah.
It just means that you have more opportunity cost elsewhere, right? So now it's like, maybe I don't take it because I don't see any knights. But then if you run into one knight player, like, that thing's useful, and even if you don't hit any knights, it'll still find something to hunt down, right? So now you can't just run your characters into the middle of the board, because if you do, there's a chance that this guy's going to come get you. The fact that it's so flexible as well compared to the White Scars one, I think that's a good point of like comparison here, because the White Scars one's on a bike, so it can't actually charge through walls when it's charging. It only charges over model, it doesn't charge over terrain. Okay. Whereas the Smash Captain is an infantry model, so it can still go through the ruins.
True.
But what I like about the biker is that he's toughness 5.
He looks cool.
Looks cool. That is very important. Toughness 5, extra wound, and with the White Scar you can run into, you're going 20 inches, and I know how good that is because I've played in my Chaos list, Chaos Biker Lord, who could run in charge, and just being able to go 20 inches in charge is fucking brilliant. Yeah,
so we can take out the looks cool component there because that's entirely subjective. I mean, I agree with you, but it's not like...
What's not cool about a Space Marine on a bike with a massive hammer, Tom?
I mean, it is very cool, but it doesn't mean it's efficient. So you can take that out. You can also take out the durability point, because if you are charging that model in, you are expecting it to die anyway. If I'm launching my Smash Captain across the board to punch a Castellan in the face, I'm not expecting to get that guy back.
What?
Sorry? I know, or sorry, Valiant, my mistake.
Okay.
What?
Crusader. Just going to give a quick shout out to Doodar Day. Thanks for the 100 bits. And then a shout out to the recent champion of the Hellstorm 3, Mohawk Miniatures, Mr. J, in the chat.
Yep, you did a good job. Speaking of charging knights, so if I'm charging my Smash Captain over into Mohawk J's to knights, right, I'm not expecting to get it back. But what I'm now doing is I'm now paying a premium for it to be more durable when the durability doesn't matter to me anyway. I expect that thing to die. Maybe it'll take a couple more hits, but I'm also taking a couple more hits in that I can't take as many models. As for the 20-inch point, we can go back and forth on this one, because the 20-inch movement is great. The problem is you've now got a larger model that then can't go through terrain, so you have more ways to counter it. But then on the other side, you have someone with a small penis is just driving by. On the other hand, you have the Smash Captains, which are more flexible in terms of where they can move. The problem you have is you can fan them out. So maybe you are forced to use them later on in the game, but equally you can do a similar thing with the bikers by just standing a certain distance away because your base is a little bit larger.
Okay, so Tom, you're saying jump pack dude?
I'm saying jump pack dude.
What are you saying?
How many points is the White Scars guy, actually?
Oh, I totally agree. Definitely jump back dude. It's just bikers are cool, and white scars should be on bikes, and they're not gonna be.
It's cool though. I mean, White Scars still do like hit insanely hard. So before we went live, me and Dick were talking about a combo of like 10 intercessors, whereby you just apply a bunch of stats. You have all your characters in the same place because that's what Marines essentially do. Marines get a bunch of characters and then deathball around the characters and then walk around doing all the damage. And this combo, effectively, it's not unlikely that it kills 4 knights in one assault phase.
I feel like I was the unit you were describing is basically the way I play my my Necron Immortals now. It's just
Sorry.
gonna be better.
And your Necron Immortals kill 4. Oh no, it's the characters with the surrounding.
Yeah, it's the way you move them and the way. Yeah.
And there always have been kind of quite a few similarities between Necrons and Marines. For example, when I started playing back in 5th edition, you had here's a bunch of characters that just keep my dudes alive and they keep them shooting. And I walk up the board with my toughness 4, my 3+ save, and I just mow you down as I go. And a good example of this is a White Scars, but White Scars do have a bit more charging, although it only kind of comes into effect on turn 3 when you get your combat doctrines. So the way that doctrines work in the book is you start with your Devastator doctrine, so the next turn you can either keep those or you can move on to tactical doctrines. And then the next turn you can either keep those or move on to assault doctrines, but you can never go backwards. You can only ever go forwards through the list.
With one stratagem.
Okay, there it is. So you can never normally go backwards.
Really? I didn't hear that.
So what you end up doing is, right now, my White Scars are going to spend like a couple of turns just walking up the board, getting shot at and not being massively efficient. And then when I get there, I'm going to just like death ball into you. And then if my ball hits you, you die. And if it doesn't, I just lose the game then. Similar with Ultramarines, for example.
I mean, this is going to be the crux of the book, I think. The damage output is going to be insane.
Yeah.
And Space Marines are going to be great, but they're not going to live through turn 3. Your White Scars are not going to make it to turn 3 to use their assault doctrines.
So I think the Marine book is going to pan out quite a lot in the next couple of months, and that's generally because I think it plays the same style. It's just which one does it the most effectively. So it's going to come down to maths and boards. If you're on heavy boards with lots of ruins, maybe the White Scars do it quite well. And in fact, I think Marines could do very well on these kinds of heavy boards, because what you end up doing is you end up walking into the center of the board with all of these kinds of units which are reliant upon that to survive, and then they can hit very, very hard when they get into melee, have a large amount of access to indirect fire. You're speaking of, like, someone was talking the other day about a combo with not Chaplain Cassius. What's the name of the guy in the tank for Ultramarines? I've got the book right in front of me. Sgt Cronus. Sgt Cronus. So you take Sgt Cronus in one of the whirlwinds, the relic, Scorpius whirlwind, or whatever. You give him the Warlord trait, which allows his...
He can't go into any Forge World shit. Can only do Codex stuff.
Are you sure?
Frontline Gaming said so. So 50% sure.
Well, what I'm saying...
and they write the rules, so...
Well,
probably going to trust them.
Basically.
Oh, 1 second. It's just started raining, so I'm just going to stand up and waddle into the house.
Okay, while you do that, Tom, I'll just give a shout out to some people in the chat.
Yeah, sure.
We've had TJMEDSY. I don't really know how to pronounce that. Timjzy. But I think that might be Hellstorm Toby, if I'm right. So shout out to Toby.
Really?
And then also shout out to Amy in the chat, who's asking, Tom, have you had a haircut?
Absolutely not, no.
TJ Medzi is that name. So hello, welcome to the show. So Tom, have you had a haircut? You haven't had a haircut, have you?
I have not had a haircut because I've been bouncing around between countries for the last couple of weeks and I haven't had an opportunity. I'm going to get it dyed when I next go and get it there.
Okay.
So chat can vote on colour.
You just say dyed?
Yeah, man.
What colour?
I bet pink.
I don't know. Chat can vote on it. It'll be fine.
Oh, do a Twitter poll.
Do a Twitter poll, and then we'll see. And then I'll ignore the result anyway. Right. So I'm inside. I've got the Sgt Cronus Rule in front of me right now. And what it says is, instead of being set up on the battlefield during deployment, this model must begin battle commanding a tank. When mustering your army, select one Ultramarines vehicle model from your army, Sgt Cronus to command, that has one of the following keywords. It never specifies it has to be in the book. So, for example, Whirlwind is in there. So long as the tank that you want to put him in has the Whirlwind keyword, you can put him in there. So a Relic Scorpius Whirlwind has the Whirlwind keyword.
Yeah. Well, Toby also said in the chat that it has the keyword Whirlwind, so it should...
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. So you stick it in there.
Wrong.
And then you get to pick your Warlord trait with Cronus. He doesn't have a fixed one. So you pick the Warlord trait, which is on 6s to wound. You do an additional mortal wound. And then you fire twice. So now you have a mortal wound firing twice whirlwind for banter.
Thanks.
I'm not saying it's amazing, but
Firing
it's just
twice. Is that that's the stratagem?
stratagem? This is stratagem, yeah, and it's specifically for whirlwinds and I think Vindicators as well.
It's whirlwinds and thunderfire cannons.
There it is. So, and then there you are. You've got all the different types of whirlwinds. You've got thunderfire cannon. There are so many different ways that Marines have access to indirect fire in the book, and the indirect fire isn't even weak. So if you're on a heavy board of Marines, it's actually not bad. And if you're on an open board,
maybe that's the crux of the entire book, because it seems to me that a lot of things are viable now.
So the only problem with this one is that Cronus is an Ultramarine.
Well,
so
yeah,
what
that's
I think
the problem with every Ultramarine.
Well, but the issue I think you'll have is if you're on heavy boards, you probably want to go White Scars because it allows you to walk into the center of the board and turn free charge everything and not die while doing it. Whereas if you're on open boards, you probably want to go for something like maybe you can go Iron Hands, or you can go even Imperial Fists, but I'd probably go Ultramarines. And then you just walk into the center of the board with your big dash ball and you shoot everyone instead.
Yeah, but if it's a heavy terrain board, like a multi-level terrain, then you're just going to park your entire army on the second floor and no bike is going to be near it. So
you don't need to charge it with bikes, you just charge it with Marines.
True that, though. Yeah.
Like we've already demonstrated, but Marines still do quite a lot with the amount of buffs that you have around with the characters, plus the assault doctrines that White Scars get. You're doing an insane amount of damage with that. It's not weak. And even then, like if people are just standing on top of ruins saying, no, you can't charge me. Well, all the objectives are on the ground floor, especially if you're playing ITC, which a lot of people are these days. All your objectives are on the bottom. You're not touching those. I will happily chase you into a tree and then eat the dead deer on the floor.
Interesting analogy.
When you go hunting. Yeah, it's like wolves when you go hunting. You hunt the deer, then the wolves come, then you get chased up a tree and they eat the deer, and now you just ruined your entire hunting experience.
Lovely.
Okay.
Right, so let's talk about what else is new with the Codex. So a boost that all the Primaris stuff basically got a boost, didn't they? Basically, Primaris Games Workshop using the hashtag please fucking buy Primaris Marines because they've all gone up basically a wound, most of them, and maybe come down in points a little bit as well. I'm not sure, but they've definitely all got a wound extra, which
but let's be honest. I don't mind them giving the Primaris love.
No,
Primaris were shit when they came out. The mini gorgeous.
So
what I do mind is your camera keeps resizing every 2 seconds, and I keep having to.
Specifically his.
I blame you.
So just to clarify, when we say we're giving extra wounds, we mean aggressors, we mean inceptors, and all that kind of jazz.
Yes, not.
We don't mean not intercessors.
Yeah, not intercessors. Thank fuck.
So intercessors is quite because if intercessors has it, that's a really big deal. Because for example, with the inceptors, you can only get 6 in the unit. Same with aggressors. The maximum number you're getting there is 18. Whereas with the intercessors, if you have 3 wounds per model on a troop's choice, which can go up to a squad size of 10, that suddenly becomes a big deal.
Hashtag please scarabs for troops.
There you go. That'll do it.
Nice.
So I think we could do, again, we're talking about Blood Angels because we've already spoken about the what's it called, the Smash Captains, right? But if we're talking about Blood Angels, I think there's a possibility that we see a return of the list which had Dante, and then he was surrounded by like Company Ancient and all the kind of buffs there, and then you'd have 18 Inceptors, and then you can even run Suppressors as well, and you just have a big kind of floaty ball of death now. Again, it's a ball of death. That's what Marines do. They're entirely reliant upon their special characters to form any kind of coalition. I mean, maybe you can talk a little bit about the chapter masters, but most of what Marines do is built around the special characters because there are so many, and all they ever do is form buff pieces.
Which is kind of like it reflects the fluff, because they're supposed to work together. They need to work in squads. They need to support each other. So it's kind of cool, and it also some builds are just going to be so deadly. I remember last year, one of my best game buddies, he ran like Aggressors and Gilliman.
Yeah, that list.
It wrecked my face every time, and now it's going to be even worse.
They have the banner.
Yeah,
banner
of course.
Ascendant
He
as well.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah,
back in the day when I had no way of killing that banner. So
Banner of the Emperor Ascendant.
Yeah.
So I was actually fine with that list. So I think one of the important points with Marines here is that whenever you ran into Marines before, I'd be like, yeah, I know exactly what this list does. It walks into the center and it kills me, but I'll shoot it first and it's not an issue, right? Whereas...
but you play Eldar, which means that you have the mobility to go around them and stay out.
And the range and the ability to just delete aggressors in a single go, right? Whereas now I kind of feel like, well, okay, what am I thinking about that can remove about like 18 aggressors in one turn? With the 3 wounds, it's actually kind of a pain in the ass. Because let's say you're playing Knights and you've got 3 Gatling cannon. Well, now you just need 2 Gatling cannon per go to kill an aggressor.
Yeah. And
it may or may not have a 3+ or a 2+ save.
One more reason why Battle Cannon is actually better than Gatling.
So I'm actually going to be trying out the Battle Cannon. I also really like the 72-inch range. I was talking to Eric a little bit after the Capital City Bloodbath about why he's running the Battle Cannons over Thermal Cannon. And it is 80 points more expensive to take 3 Battle Cannons over 3 Thermal Cannons, but I think it is actually worth it, so I'm going to give that a go.
I told you that, and you disagreed. But as soon as some American ETC player says something, you're all about that.
When did you say that?
In WhatsApp. Anyway, right. Shout out to Big Old Fish.
Oh yeah. I said I'm going to ask him. Yeah.
Shout out to the Big Goldfish. Just subscribe for 17 months in a row. So thank you, dude. See you at the next League of Nights events, which is, by the way, 30th of November. Tickets are on sale if anyone wants them.
He's on it. Nice. Yep. We've still got a couple left.
Yes. Yeah, we've got plenty of time to sell them though this time. We've got a couple of months.
Yeah. Nice.
So, and also they updated the chapter tactics, which is really nice. I reckon Iron Hand's got one of the biggest boosts with the overwatching on 5s and vehicles having their wounds taken when you consult in the damage profile. And now
Iron Hand's going to be amazing.
And now their 6-up DPR save applies to vehicles as well. So I think Iron Hand vehicles are going to be pretty boss.
I think the 5-up to Overwatch is the big one. I'm still not sure if it's big enough for me to prefer them over Ultramarines personally. Because I really like the ability to just constantly move and fire and just like chunk out as many shots as you want. That's personally my bag. But
my bag is the Salamanders. Always has been. Fucking love them Salamanders.
The Salamanders are great as well. I was thinking about it today because that -1, that ignore the first -1.
Yes,
it's going to be huge.
Yes,
because the increase in I don't know what they're called, intercessors. I think the normal 2-wound troops guys is going to make autocannon stock go up through the roof, and all those stupid what are the knights with the Helvrins?
They do flat free damage though.
They do flat free damage, but you're just gonna ignore their -1, and if you're standing in cover, you don't care about them.
No.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah.
So
Salamanders are gonna be quite forgiving,
the list that I'm going to be running, I'm going to take it to the 1-day Hellstorm event that's coming up soon. It's 2,000 points. I'm going to try straight Salamanders army, and it's basically got loads of dreadnoughts. Because I reckon I could deploy my entire army right on the line in front of my opponent, give them first turn, do the prepared position stratagem, and basically survive pretty much untouched. I reckon, with some of the stratagems, because the dreadnoughts are really resilient. They've all got a 5-up invulnerable save, ignoring AP1. Most of them have got a 6-up DPR as well, and lots of wounds.
And they've got lots of range as well.
Wait. So this codex made you consider taking Space Marines to events? Cool.
Not necessarily because
that should be one of the
not necessarily because I'm just like, Space Marines are the best thing ever. It's just they've got a new codex coming out. I've got a one day I don't want to try them at, so I'll give them a go anyway.
What do you think of Ironclads, Nikos?
Ironclads. They can't have double shooter weapons, so I'm not interested in Ironclads. unless you can have double autocannon. No. I'm not interested.
No. So that sounds like a Halverin to me. All right. Yeah. Are you taking better named Salamanders Dreadnought?
Wrath Ashmantle, no. He's like 400 points.
He looks cool. He's also toughness 9.
Yeah, he's
pretty badass, but he's also pretty expensive.
Right, so
Nicholas, go through your list. I'm kind of curious.
So I've got I've got a captain on bike. So captain on bike with Thunderhammer and Storm Shielder. He sits with the main dreadnoughts and then goes out like a guard dog. So if a knight comes near me or something comes near me that I need to go and smash, I can go and smash him with my bike captain. He also gives the reroll ones. I'll probably make him a chapter master as well to reroll all hits. Got a lieutenant as well, and then they sit with a Deradeo dreadnought, autocannons, heavy bolters, and then the Atamantic Pervase. So it gives a 5-up invulnerable bubble. And then I have 3 double autocannon venerable dreadnoughts in that bubble. They have a screen of intercessors in front of them, and then 2 optional 5-man tactical squads as screens as well, or to sit on an objective. 3 units of 5 scouts just to make up another battalion, and my other heroes are a lieutenant and a chaplain. Then I've got a
chaplain.
Yes, just so he can give the +1 to wound prayer to people like the intercessors or my dreadnoughts or stuff like that. And I've made him a warlord because he's pretty hard to kill. And then I've got a venerable contemptor dreadnought, double autocannon, and then a big guy. What is it? Leviathan with storm cannon arrays. So it's like 7 dreadnoughts that all have double like autocannon style weapons. They're all pretty hard to kill, pretty resilient.
So basically, if you're gonna come up against another salamander, you're gonna be fucked.
Why?
Because you have only autocannons.
Yeah, but the tactical doctrine makes them all AP2.
Oh shit! Yeah. Oh, crap.
So I've got loads of really reliable,
well.
long range, high strength, AP2 damage 2 weapons.
Yeah, it's one of my worst nightmares to face, I think.
Great against.
It's ICC format, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So are you able to like get out of? Do you have a way to get out of combat with that, or do you just kick people until they die?
Well, I'm hoping I'll be able to keep people off with my scout squads, tactical squads, and intercessors. And
right. Okay. So here's the question I was going to ask. So in ITC, one of the most important things is being able to stop your opponent killing you, because it's worth point to kill you and to kill more, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're taking a bunch of dreads, then it's obviously very, very difficult for someone to kill those and get those points, right? Mm-hmm. But equally, if you are trying to keep them off you and trying to stop them from tagging all your dreadnoughts in melee, and you're doing that with scouts, now you're giving away those points quite easily, no?
Yes.
I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah. That's just the thing I'm going to have to deal with. Like, I've not played the list yet at all. I don't know if it's good or not. It might be awful, but I think it's just going to be. It'll
be fun.
I think the damage output from all the dreadnoughts is pretty good, so I'm just going to test it to see how it works. It'll be fun to have loads of dreadnoughts
sounds good, man.
Around. But yes, it will give away some easy kill points with the scouts and stuff like that. But if I can shoot the crap out of them before they get anywhere near me, I won't need to give them away.
Makes sense. Makes sense to me.
So do you guys have any other initial thoughts about the changes of this codex?
This one, not specifically. I did want to touch a little bit on Marnie's Calgar versus Gelman, but we can do that later if you want.
Yeah. Let's do that later after we've done the stats. I've just got one little rant. As a chaos, as a Space Marine player, I'm like, fuck yeah, this is a great new codex. This is cool. But as a Chaos Space Marine player, I'm pretty fucking salty about it.
Where's all my calls?
Yeah, exactly. We literally got a new codex. It came out just before Christmas, so like 6 months ago, we got a new codex, and then they released this one, just rubbing our face in it. It's like, where's all our new stuff? But anyway, so do you guys should we have a look at the stratagems? Go through some stratagems. There's some pretty tasty ones in there.
I noticed.
They've got a lot of there's a lot of ones that have remained the same, but there's quite a few new ones. So Armor of Contempt, you can give your vehicle a 5+ DPR against mortal wounds for a phase. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's for a vehicle, right?
Yes.
Is that new though? Didn't they used to have that?
They might have had that one still, yeah.
So I think that was that Second Power or was it Stratagem? It's similar to the one the Knights had for Adeptus Mechanicus, which is like Benevolence of a Machine God or something.
Yeah.
But it's all right. The problem is that It's about working out which vehicles are valuable enough to warrant spending that kind of CP on in the Marine's book, right? That's all.
Yeah, and it's very situational. Like if you throw like maybe I might use it in my list on my Leviathan Dreadnought, because the Leviathan Dreadnought's weapons are quite short range, so you need to kind of get him up front. He can tank it because he's got a lot of wounds, a 4+ invul, and a toughness 8. But you get round the invulnerable save and the toughness with smites and mortal wounds and things like that. So I might use this
on blocker, yeah.
So I might use this on him just to keep him alive a little bit longer.
Yeah, sounds good.
Classic Orc Spec Scan is back. It's 2 CP. It's nowhere near as good as Forewarned for Eldar, so I don't really care about that.
Is it still exactly the same? -1
yeah,
to
still
hit,
-1 to hit. 12 inches of infantry.
And it has to be within 12-inch range, yeah. That sucks.
Yeah,
never mind.
By the way, guys, just a quick interlude. I realised I could do this yesterday. I'm just going to turn myself blue. Whoa.
Oh, right, okay.
What's with blue?
I'd share that with you guys.
So
they've got a 2 CP fight when you die stratagem. So only in death does duty end. I think they had this before.
Yeah, for every unit.
So it's just for characters. So when you send your Thunderhammer wielding Smash Captain into a knight, so I thought you could go in, fight 2 knights, kill one, and then pile into the other guy, and then that knight kills you, but then you kill that knight back. Pretty nice. So basically, when you die, you shoot as if it's the shooting phase or fight as if the fight phase. I think you're pretty much only really going to use that on.
That's a returning stratagem from last book as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter Master, I believe this went down a CP, so you can turn one captain into a Chapter Master, so you can re-roll attacks. So but there is a slight change to the wording, so it's re-roll attacks. It's not re-rolled failed hits. So you can, if you're at 3+ at -2, you can re-roll. You can re-roll the ones that would miss, which is pretty big.
You effectively ignore modifiers, which is good.
Yeah,
and also it goes the other way as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and also you can do things like Imperial Fist. If you've got like a big unit of intercessors and you're putting loads of stratagems on them, because there are quite a few combos for them. If you're rolling loads and loads of dice and you're fishing for 6s, you could roll all your 40 dice or whatever, how many shots you're doing, pick out all the 6s, and then just re-roll everything else, even though it hit, just to try and get more shots potentially.
Exactly.
So they've got, I don't know if this is new or not, Death to Traitors. So basically you get Death to the False Emperor that Chaos have, but the reverse. So if you're fighting Heretic Astartes on a 6 in combat to hit, unmodified, you get an extra attack.
I think that's a returning one as well. It just wasn't used at all.
Okay. Just never heard of it.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
And then they've got the classic 3 CP fight again stratagem for any aesthetic.
Yeah, well, that's different, actually. That one is different. So if you read the wording on it, it now specifically says Adeptus Astartes units.
Yes.
It doesn't say infantry. It doesn't say vehicles. It doesn't say bikes. It doesn't say dreadnoughts. It says Adeptus Astartes units.
So you're telling me I can charge in my Predator into a unit and fight twice with my Predator tank?
I'm telling you, Gulliman.
Gulliman, that's a way better choice. That's a way better choice than the Predator.
Which is one of the other things I was going to talk about later, but it's just worth highlighting now because Gulliman being able to fight twice is a scary and efficient prospect for 3CP.
That is, yeah.
It is.
Another one, we've got Duty Eternal. So use a stratagem when the Adeptus Astartes Dreadnought from your model is chosen to target for an attack. To the end of the phase, when resolving an attack made against that model, half the damage inflicted rounding up. My eyes lit up when I read this one because obviously I'm planning to run six Dreadnoughts in my list. If I'm throwing my Leviathan out there, I can use that half the damage. But also, the Deradeo in my list is quite big and important because it obviously gives the 5+ invulnerable save to the rest of my Dreadnoughts. So if someone's targeting my poor little Deradeo, I can use this on him to try and keep him alive a little bit longer.
Sorry, is this you're throwing your Leviathan back out there again?
Why not, man?
Love it. It's just how he rolls.
That's how I do it.
It's how he rolls.
It's the story of Nicholas's life. Throws in the monster.
Just curious.
So some other the returning stratagem, flak missile. Shoot a flak missile for D3 wounds. Yeah, it's really good. But they've luckily, I think in one of the previous FAQs, they fixed the thing that you could do with the cherub, so you can't fire it twice for 1 CP. It'll cost you 2 CP each time. And then here's another change. So obviously we had the Vigilus book at Christmas come out with the veteran intercessors thing. They just put it straight in the Codex now.
Did. It's an actual unit.
It's just a stratagem, so
it's almost no reason to take it
not
anymore.
Really, it just gets you.
Take the Vigilus detachment.
It only really gives you an extra leadership and an extra attack.
The extra attack is
big. Yeah, the attack's alright, but it's 2 CP for 10. If you want to do it on 5 intercessors, it's 1 CP, but 6 or more, it's 2 CP.
Okay. I'll remember.
You can only do it once per battle.
So you can't do it once.
No, so you can't have 3 units of veteran intercessors. But I bet I've just thought, occurred to me, what you could probably do is that one and then the Vigilus one as well. Do you reckon?
Probably.
It's just a squad, so you can still do it to all squads.
Oh, okay.
If you want to.
It has exactly the same name.
Oh yes, right? Each intercessor squad unit can only be set to this once per battle. Yeah, so you can't just
So you can't spend 20 CP to give a unit 20 attacks.
Super veterans.
No. Worth a try. Never mind. Carry on.
So Bolt Storm, 2 CP, intercessor squad with auto bolt rifles. If it's at half range, they automatically hit.
Oh wait, what?
So at half range with auto bolt rifles, you auto hit. So I think they get 3 shots each. So 10 would be 30 shots auto hitting at half range.
So that's a change.
It's only auto bolt rifles.
Yeah. Didn't it used to be you just double your rapid fire, so you become rapid fire 2 rather than
it's a different one. I think the Vigilus had both.
That's a new stratagem then. I don't think Vigilus had that one. I'm sure I would have seen it.
It might have done, but I can't remember.
And can you use that when you're being overwatched at? When you're overwatching?
Alendrel says the same as
phase. It's shooting phase only. They've specified, which is great. Okay. Great job, guys.
Gonna say that sounds spectacular.
That's quite good. What is so there's other intercessor specific ones which you may as well touch on now because they've got 1 stratagem per gun that they can have. So if you take the Stalker bolt rifles, you've got one where you can target characters. It's 3 CP. It's quite pricey. It basically turns your Stalker bolt rifles into sniper rifles because you get the 6 to wound is a mortal wound as well as damage, and you can target characters. It's only really worth it if you're having 10 intercessors because 3 CP for 5 seems OTT. You're not really going to kill much there. But 10 is quite nice. But who's taking 10 intercessors with Stalker bolt rifles?
Probably me at some point.
That sounds cool.
Sounds like a great idea of those auto bolt rifles. What are those?
That's the Stalkers.
Doesn't matter.
But then the normal one, their rapid fire one, which is my favourite, which is intercessors with their standard weapon, the rapid fire one. Basically, you turn it to rapid fire 2. This was in the Vigilus one as well. So basically, if you're using the beta bolter rules, you're shooting rapid fire at long range. So a unit of 10 guys could have 40 shots at long range, which is pretty nice. And there's also a stratagem where
that's the big one.
There's a stratagem where you can move and then counter stationary. So I think it's probably a 3 command point combo.
But you can do that with Ultramarines anyway.
So you can do that with Ultramarines anyway, but everyone else can still do it, but for an extra command point with that.
Yes, but for all the peasants, you can move if you pay to cross the bridge.
So I think that's pretty good. Just killing hordes, killing hordes and things.
Love it.
There's a repulsor one in there. Hunter Slayer missile.
Ooh.
Hunter Slayer missile. So use this stratagem in your shooting phase only. Select 1 repulsor to launch a Hunter Slayer missile. Select a vehicle or monster within 48 inches, not within 1 inch of any of your units, and roll a d6. If it's equal or greater to that model's ballistic skill, target suffers D3 mortal wounds. Each repulsor can only do this once per battle. So it's kind of like a flak missile, but just for repulsors.
That's pretty cool.
Mm.
I think repulsors are
Sounds
still going to be one of the hot items of the.
You reckon?
I don't know.
The Codex.
So I think one of the issues the repulsors have is the lack of being moaning on about this a lot, and I kind of defend things that don't have invulnerable saves, because most of the time what you end up doing is, if you have a 2+ armor save, you don't really use the 5+ invulnerable very much, because in order to even get to that point, you have to be AP -4, right? So the number of times you're firing those things on things like infantry isn't massive. The problem comes when, as a repulsor, you are going to be taking the brunt of heavy, high strength, low AP value weapons quite a lot, right? And that's when not having an invulnerable save really starts to kick in. For example, I know that if I'm firing a shock attack gun at you with rerolls to wound, 90% of the time I'm killing one every time I fire. So I'm killing 2 repulsors a turn. It's not a problem. The point of a repulsor is generally to be... Like, if you were to ask me to design a vehicle that was meant to be good into orcs, it would be something that has a -2 to charge and has a lot of firepower. So you've got the Callidius, which is the Custodes Forge World vehicle, and you have the Repulsor, and also have fly, so you can fall out. So the Repulsor is theoretically very, very good into these kind of melee armies. The problem comes with what happens when you get shot at. And I don't know if they thought it was because, if we give it invulnerable save, we're overloading its kit. Its kit is too heavy. Well, if you then look at like Tau's shield drones, for example, you're getting a far more overloaded kit at a much cheaper price. With the repulsors, you are really, really stacking its strengths, but the moment you hit anything that's capable of killing you, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
So
that's true. It's going to be very rock paper scissors. If you're going to go up against an army with enough high AP, high damage shooting, you're going to be screwed.
It's very, very top heavy, and that it's very, very good against melee hordes and very, very shit against anything that can shoot you in the face.
Like a million dreadnoughts.
It's an extreme unit because it's just really, really good at certain things and really, really shit at others, which is fine most of the time. The problem is when the things that you're shit against are so widespread you can't actually ever expect to avoid them.
Okay. So just give a quick shout out to Halud, he's in the chat. Shout out to Halud, I saw you yesterday. He's subscribed for 8 months in a row, and also shout out to Rob Edwards, 40k. How are you doing?
It's got another account, good.
Another Twitter account, yeah. So Hellfire Shells are still in there. Heavy bolters, shoot a Hellfire Shell, D3 mortal wounds, cheeky D3 mortal wounds. I quite like that.
Yeah, I love it.
I might even put in a heavy bolter in my scout squads just for that.
Love it.
No, you won't.
Yeah, let's give our forward operatives the noisiest weapon we could find.
It'll be silenced. It's a silencer.
the silenced heavy bolter. Yeah. The greatest of mankind's weapons.
Okay, and they give a bit of love to grav weapons, so they've got a specific stratagem.
A bit.
So gravitic amplification. Use this stratagem when an Adeptus Astartes unit from your army is chosen to shoot until the end of the phase. When resolving an attack with a grav cannon and grav amp, you can reroll the wound roll and reroll the damage roll.
Okay, sound.
Yeah. So basically,
it's not quite as good as it was in 6th and 7th.
I think so. Yeah. It's just Devastator squads. Basically, this is relevant to with 5 grav amps. Yeah, could be good.
Yeah, 100%.
Good at killing Primaris, though.
I don't think I'll ever build an army around it, though. Yeah, there's even a stratagem that's specifically for killing Adeptus Astartes and Heretic Astartes. It's kind of funny.
Right. Well, so we're on to the last page of stratagems. Orbital bombardment is back, and it's exactly the same.
I do like.
You like it? Actually. Why do you like it?
It still sucks
because it is expensive, but when it works, it really works. So here's a good example: playing Tau. When you're playing Tau, you have all of your drones kind of bunched in an area, and if you don't, then I can just pick off certain squads of drones, and then I can pick off the units that were close to those, right? So what you can do is turn 1, you just drop it all above them. It is. So now you're just doing you're taking off a large number of drones, because what you end up doing is, let's say you're hitting 4 to 6 squads of drones. Okay, so you've got 3. You're going to hit 3 on average. So you're going to do 6 wounds, feel no pain. That's 4 dead drones. Now, In terms of points, CP to points, yeah, it's not great. But in terms of significance to the game of what you just removed, it's spectacularly good.
Wait, it did change, I think. Because now it says adapt as a start as Warlord. And I think earlier it said you had to be a chapter master.
I know because Gulliman could do it.
And also, you used to have to stand still. Don't remember.
You did
It doesn't
used to have
say
to
stand still anymore.
And you'd have to give up your ability to shoot any other weapon as well. I think you still give up that ability, though, right? But at least now you can move Gulliman up the field and just point and say boom. And maybe you kill 4 drones.
No. So it's marginally better.
Still sucks, in my opinion.
I mean, the ability to move for an
it
extra
depends.
turn is quite important in my view.
If you have enough CP and if you're facing Tau.
Yeah, it's very situational. And it's very expensive.
Okay, so we also have relics of the chapter. So this is a kind of so lots of other codexes have got the extra relics one, but it seems like you can have unlimited relics for Space Marines. So use this stratagem, your army can have 1 additional relic. All relics from your army must be different. It doesn't say you can use this strategy once or.
So to preface this, a lot of what I was talking about earlier was how Marines work in terms of you've got all your units and then they just kind of death ball around the center, like around a bunch of characters, and then maybe you have some indirect fire from some whirlwinds or some other fire cannons behind if you want to do that. The thing with that is that a lot of the characters you're bunching around are going to be things like special characters. Maybe you occasionally have a chapter master in there as well, but most of the characters are going to be named characters, and then you maybe have a company ancient in there as well, or a lieutenant. So a lot of the relics in here, although in isolation they can look okay, the problem is there's just never a situation where it's worth actually shoehorning them into an army.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I agree. I mean, I like.
That's fine.
I like most of the special characters, even though I'm not a fan of using them. I prefer my own characters.
Yeah, same.
But I feel like most of what you use the characters for is the buffs they give off, especially now in this codex. So the buffs is usually going to be rerolls. In a game where I think points are still at a premium, even though there's a lot of point drops. You want to have so many toys that points are going to be an issue, and I think you can more easily take a double battalion and spend the 2 CP to make someone a chapter master, than spend the 350 points to take Gilliman.
That's fine, and that's why I was going to talk about Calgar later. But my point is, we can go through all these relics, and I'm not sure which ones are actually worthwhile taking because you have such a limited pool of actual usable non-named characters that they just don't add up. I mean, I've got a couple from the Ultramarines book, which I quite like the look of, and they were specifically working on the Company Ancient. But because you can't take multiple relics on those units, so I can't give the Company Ancient like a slew of banners, for example.
Maybe it's the way we look at these relics is just not the way GW looks at the relics.
Well, it's just cool toys for your cool toys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. Because I mean, who the hell wants a relic bolt rifle? Fuck that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
actually, my friend Andy ran that relic bolt rifle on his primary captain, and it is pretty decent. Like, it's just an extra bit of damage that you can rely on, but it's not amazing. I agree.
No.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at the relic pages themselves on these books, they're literally delineated into 2 types of relics: relics of Macragge and special issue war gear, and they're both, for all intents and purposes, just relics. They just have different names because that's how they look of the book, right? It's like, oh, well, these are the relics that are like, you found it in a shrine and it's a demon blade and Fulgrim has it and it's messed him up. Or this is like a special bit of tech that the tech priests have, or that the, I don't know, some boffins in Macragge have. And they're going to give it to you because it's rare, so don't break it, but it does some cool shit. And they've actually even gone to the trouble of just like mixing it down, saying, "Oh, this is this," because it's narrative, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we'll gloss over the relics shortly. We'll just finish off the stratagem. So I don't know if this is a new one or not, but they've got Hammer of Wrath, 1 CP. So when a jump pack unit from your army finishes a charge, for each model within 1 inch of that, within 1 inch of the enemy, roll a d6 on a 5+. They suffer a mortal wound.
Wait, a model with a jump pack finishes a charge.
A unit.
No, a unit.
So I don't know. Can you use this on Blood Angels?
Why would you want to?
Well, so I'm just thinking the biggest unit of jump pack Marines that I know is a big unit of 15 Death Company.
Oh yeah, that's fine. And what I was going to say is, if it's every model, if this applies to every model, then it's going to be like I'm rolling 15 5+s now for every unit that's near me, and then we're just going to do a slew of mortal wounds. But that unit's just going to string out, hit like 2 or 3 units when you roll three dice, and then one of them is going to take a couple of mortal wounds, which is fine. I mean, it's a couple more mortal wounds, right? The problem is now when you're so stretched, you can take out models that make it harder for you to hit with a Death Company, and the Death Company is probably just going to shred it anyway. If you're using it on something like a Smash Captain, well, if you're hitting infantry, you've got a bit of an issue.
You could charge.
I'm not.
I mean, it's made like with a big 10-man unit or 15-man unit, charging into it something like a knight. Just do a few cheeky mortal wounds.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, but again, it's 5 and 6. It's not reliable.
But if you only need a few,
and you're only hitting one unit. If you're hitting a bunch of units, then maybe it has some use. But it's just if you're hitting a bunch of units, you're probably killing them anyway.
Yeah.
But can you use these stratagems on your Blood Angels? I mean, I've had this discussion in like 3 different groups, and there's still no definitive answer. I think you can, but on the other hand,
I feel like that's their intention, because obviously they're bringing out the Space Marine Codex, and then like Ultramarines is a separate supplement. I kind of feel like that's what their intention is, that this is the baseline, and then all the special ones have extra layers on top. However, there is something in the in one part of it where it says specifically they have different books and operate in different ways. So note that Space Wolves, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Death Watch, Grey Knights, etc. deviate significantly in terms of organization and fighting styles. These chapters cannot make use of any of the rules in this section. Instead, have their own rules.
Even
so
that, I don't think you ever do, so I just don't.
So no, Blood Angels can't use this.
Okay, cool.
It specifically says that, so you can leave that one well alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So unless the keywords are included, because if the keywords match, you could use them.
Yeah. Yeah. Just finish off the stratagems. Big guns never tire. You can move and shoot heavy weapons as if you just stay still with a vehicle. So again, Malavathan's loving this.
Can I just finish on that last point with the stratagem about the can Blood Angels use it?
Yes.
I think there's still a debate here, but to be honest, my personal perspective is, will you ever use it? And if I ever see someone using it and they're just like, well, I don't think it makes any difference to the game, because I genuinely think that the effect that this thing has on the game is absolutely minimal, I'll just let them do it, because I really can't be asked even having that argument, because it has no impact on me on the game whatsoever.
I'm pretty sure that they can't use it. Because there's the paragraph at the start.
I'm not even invested in this discussion. I'm not even invested in this discussion because it just looks like a pile of hot shit anyway. Not the discussion, the stratagem.
But some people like hot shit, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, I know what a hot shit looks like. So
Terminators actually have one stratagem in this book. Terminator's got some love. They got one stratagem. So Fist Fury of the First.
And of course, it's dirty.
No, Fury of the First, not Fist. I almost said Fist. So use the stratagem in any phase. Select one. Adept as Astartes Terminator unit from your army. After the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made by a model in this unit, add 1 to the hit roll. So you can cancel out your -1 to hit with your Power Fists, or Thunder Hammers, or just be hitting on 2s with all your Storm Bolters.
Lightning Claws.
And that's 1 CP or 2?
Huh? 1 CP, yeah.
That's okay. For 1 CP, that's actually all right. Now go and make Assault Terminators viable, and we might actually see it used.
Yeah.
Well, you can't ask for that much, Tom.
I'm so sorry. My bad. Never mind.
The Tremor Shells was one that did exist before, but it's quite cool. So you use a Thunderfire Cannon from your army. You -1 to wound from your attacks, but the unit that you target halves its movement characteristic and can't advance. But you can't attack fly or Titanic units.
And that's for Whirlwinds or Thunderfire
Thunderfire Cannons.
I love it. I love that stratagem so much.
Me too.
It really.
I like that so much. I've been building a Thunder
Then you
Viscount.
can.
Nobody ever seemed to use it, but
Well, you can combo that with Tigurius or an Ultramarine Psychic casting Psychic Shackles, which is another ability that halves movement and does exactly the same thing. Now you can't actually combo Psychic Shackles with Tenebrous Curse, which is psychic power from the Marines book, but you can. But I don't see why you couldn't combo it with this, for example. So then you're quartering something's movement, and then it can't advance. But I personally wouldn't even do that. What you'd probably end up doing is you'd be halving one thing's movement with Tremor Shells, halving another thing's movement with the Psychic Shackles, and then you're just letting people run into you very, very slowly while they get mown down by Bolt of Fire.
Sounds good.
sounds really great. Good. Yeah.
Unless you're
Is anyone actually moving in 40k anyway?
Yes. Hello.
I mean, you don't, but that's
me.
just your playstyle.
Just Eldar moving a million inches a turn.
Eldar and Orcs just moving everywhere. Yeah, constantly. We don't stop.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Orcs. That's true. They move.
Yeah. I like movie
Deep
armies.
Strike. That's
but do that on Tau. They don't give a shit.
Deep Strike repeatedly across the board.
Wisdom of the Ancients is back. This is I love this stratagem. So you pick a dreadnought and you basically make him a captain for that phase. Reroll ones within 6. So this is a stratagem I'll be using in my dreadnought list, because generally my Deredeo and the Venerables will sit together, but then the Leviathan and the Contemptor will be off on their own. So if they're next to each other like some sort of buddy cop movie, I can use Wisdom of the Ancients on one of them to give them reroll ones to hit for those two. And also if my Captain on Bike needs to go off and deal with a knight that's running at me, and then the Deredeo and Venerables don't have reroll ones, I can pop that on the Deredeo and give everyone else their reroll ones as well. So I like that stratagem.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine for you.
It's fine for
me, everyone else who has taste in lists, then it's not quite as good. But it's a thing, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe if you like. I mean, I've seen quite a few Dreadnought lists actually. People do like the unit; they do think they're cool. So maybe we'll see that popped out occasionally. But
yeah, well, when I win Hellstorms one day, there might be a resurgence in Dreadnoughts.
You're going to set the meta. Looking forward to it, dude. Looking forward to it.
You and Toby Lydiard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because he's Custodian's Dreadnoughts.
Yep.
So there's another stratagem for this Stalker tank.
Oh, good.
What?
Until the end of that phase, that model can only target units that can fly, and when resolving an attack made by that model, add 1 to the hit roll, and on an unmodified wound roll of a 6, double the damage inflicted. So if you really want to kill a flyer, it's okay. It's not that great.
I'm going to have to look at the wording on shooting phase and targetable things. For example, what's the exact wording on being able to shoot at characters?
Oh, I don't know off by heart, memory. They've got to be the
collective. To look it up.
What I'm trying to work out is if the units that are in front of you are untargetable. Do they have to be closer? Do the units that are closer to the unit that's firing have to be targetable? I think they do, but it's just worth double checking. I'll check it another time.
It says you can only target things that fly, but that wouldn't mean that you could. I don't think that would override the character rule.
What I'm saying is, this is the thing, I need to check the wording. I think you're probably right, but I'm going to check the wording anyway, because what I'm saying is, if you can only target things that have fly, and you have a character with fly, and the units between you and this unit are untargetable, can you, because they don't have fly, can you then shoot the character?
I see what you mean.
But it's worth a check. That's fine. Cool. Okay, the chat says no, so we'll go with that then. That's fine. Worth a check.
Chat says no.
Chat says no. We'll go for the chat. That's fine.
By the way, did you see that Mr. Kapowski was?
Oh my God!
I think he subbed for like 14 months.
9 months in a row, Mr. Kapowski.
Mr. Kapowski. He must have missed.
Thank you, Mister.
Yeah. That's fine. Well, it was just worth double checking, because if you could, that'd be funny as hell.
Maybe if he subscribes for 10 months in a row, I'll be able to fix Dick's camera so it's not constantly resizing all the time.
You're getting really upset by Dick's camera.
Honestly, I'm having to click around and resize it literally every minute, and it's really frustrating me.
Just don't do anything.
At some point, I'm just going to let it go, and just Dick's going to be getting smaller and bigger all over the place, and we just have to deal with it, everybody. Okay?
That's just the story of my life.
I'm just taking hot Tinder pictures of my iPhone, and my camera's fine. Maybe I should get a push-up bra.
Do as a duck face, Tom.
Do as it. Love it.
It's horrible.
Fuck you. I look amazing. What are you talking about, fool?
So I think this is a new stratagem. They've got skilled riders. So basically,
that sounds like another
bikers
one.
or land speeders. If you move, you get a 4+ invulnerable save, and if you advance, you get a 3+ invulnerable save.
That's all right, actually. That's pretty
Yeah.
good. Yeah, maybe you can use that. You can use that on White Scars as well.
Yes. Yes.
So that could be funny, but I don't know. I don't know how much we're going to be seeing bikers though. I mean, maybe you can hit something pretty hard with the bikers, or maybe you even just you take your durable White Scars biker, you launch it into someone's face, you advance and charge, you pop that stratagem, and it's like, well, now you've got to spend an entire turn removing me. I hope you have some smites.
Yeah.
So maybe that's worth it, but. So maybe it is worth it then when you take the durability into account for that unit because you get the extra toughness and the extra point of wound. But yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool to see
1 CP, right?
2 CP for that.
2.
It'd be cool to see.
That's still fine.
It'd be cool to see if anyone does come up with a really, really, really good bike list. Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be a cool concept as well. I'd like to see some of that.
Yes. And then another one, they've got Hero of the Chapter, 1 CP. You give one hero a Warlord trait.
Cool.
You can only do this once.
Yeah.
No.
Define hero.
Adeptus Astartes character.
Good.
No, it doesn't say you can only do this once.
You can use it. You can only use this stratagem once per battle.
Oh shit! Yeah. Well, reading is hard, bro.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Never mind. I mean, we're tired. It's fine. It's good.
And then an interesting one, which is definitely new: transhuman physiology. So Adeptus Astartes unit.
Amazing.
That is not a vehicle or a servitor. I was really wanting to do this in my dreadnoughts. So it's not a vehicle. When it's targeted for an attack until the end of the phase, wound rolls of 1, 2, or 3 always fail.
Okay.
If you're really under the cosh, pop it on your intercessors, give them a life.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
This is one of the stratagems you're going to see used every game.
Yeah, it's going to be used quite a lot, isn't it?
I do want to go. Are we finished with the generic Space Marine traits strategies?
Almost. There's 4 quick ones left. So Vengeance of the Machine Spirit. So basically, any vehicle which has the Machine Spirit special rule, when it dies, you can auto explode. There's no roll needed, or you can choose to shoot one of its weapons.
That's all right. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, but it's cool because it's something that you can kind of plan for and. Right? Just throw your Storm Raven into the middle of your opponent's army, and then just plan to explode it.
Yeah, you can do. I mean, but it's still not like a Knight exploding where it does D6 mortal wounds
in
a vast area. Yeah. So Ultramarines have got a couple of stratagems that I want to highlight. I don't want to go through all of them, but
we haven't finished all the.
Not quite. So
no, it's
tactical flexibility. You can
the other
combat
one,
squad.
the one.
So I go for it, Nick.
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting.
What's that one?
Because, well, it's basically combat squads.
But in reverse.
You used to just be able to do that. No, it's not in reverse.
Oh,
Let's see. Yeah, I think you can't combat squad normally anymore, but now you have to do it through a stratagem.
Okay.
I think. Which is weird.
No, it's weird. So then adaptive strategy is the one I mentioned earlier. So you can go back one step in the tactical doctrines order, but once per game. So like I might be, you're in the heavy weapons one at the start. Your second turn, if you want to gun down some stuff with AP2 intercessor rifles, do that. But then the next turn, if you want to go back to autocannons being AP2, just use that one. So that's quite nice.
Is that the last one?
Gene Vought Might.
Because that segues
sorry,
really nice.
Gene Vought Might.
No, you're fine.
Primaris Infantry, Until the end of the phase, when resolving attack with a melee weapon, unmodified rolls of 6 automatically hit and successfully wound the target.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
all right.
good on big units of veteran intercessors and maybe like Reavers and things like that.
That are automatically hitting.
Yeah.
So
And
right, it's not too
automatically
bad.
wound.
So yeah. Oh, well. You can't automatically wound if you you can't roll 6s to wound if you do it
Oh no,
automatically.
when they roll a 6 to hit, it automatically hits and wounds.
Oh right, okay, right. Sorry, I thought that was just 6s to wound. I'm getting confused with a video I saw about mini wargaming. My bad. So
Why listen to mini wargaming?
I want to have getting rules wrong for AOS. It's the new General's Handbook.
Yeah, they do that a lot. So I hear.
Bless them. We're not throwing any shade. Not throwing any shade.
All right, so
no shade here.
Segueing smoothly
Well,
to Tom's
the
point.
segue is gone. I'm just going to straight sack off that stratagem because it's not actually that good.
Oh, okay.
But,
Okay.
So there's only a couple ones I want to highlight here, and the first one is my personal favorite. It's called Phantasm. Sorry, it's called Rapid Redeployment. And that is 2 CP at the start of the first battle round. Before first turn begins, you can pick 3 Ultramarines units from the battlefield and remove them and then redeploy them. So that's actually a really, really super useful thing to do because you can be sitting back and off, and then if you know someone's not going to see you can instantly just take 6 units by spending 4 CP on that stratagem and then donk them straight forwards as well, and then just walk up the center of the board. After you've done that, you can then drop Squad Doctrines, which is 1 CP, which allows one of those units that you just placed to act with any one of the 3 doctrines that you choose it to have. So in turn 1, you can get your tactical doctrine, walk up the board, and then just like Uber fire straight into something, right? So you can drop that stratagem. You can drop the Vigilus stratagem that allows you to become rapid fire double, and then you can walk up and just immediately shoot. But I think one of the things that we're saying quite a lot is with the Marines book is you don't really have like an uber powerful stratagem individually, right? You don't have something like a fire and fade, and you don't have something like a forewarned. But what you do have is you have a collection of stratagems which, when you're applying them consistently and frequently, you end up getting quite a consistent and quite a frightening fire base or hitting base out of the book, right? So what I think you'll end up doing is you'll end up seeing Marines as an army use a lot more CP and build a lot more CP in, which is going to be an interesting balance when you think about, well, you don't really want to start souping in things like Adeptus Mechanicus or Guard to try and get more CP, which is one of the reasons why I think Marnius Calgar in particular is a very, very valuable pickup compared to a Chapter Master, but we can go into that one later anyway. One of the other interesting Ultramarines stratagems is that you can use a stratagem called Defensive Focus for 2 CP, which allows you to use the stratagem after an Ultramarines unit from your army has been chosen as the target of the charge, and then you can select up to 3 Ultramarines units that are more than 1 inch away from any enemy unit, but within 6 inches of the targeted unit. So it comes back to that death ball we were talking about again. So what you can end up doing is you take 3 units of intercessors, you surround them with characters, or even 4 units of intercessors if you want. I don't know if you'd have the points for that. You may do if you just don't take a repulsor. So you can take 4 units of intercessors, you have them surround a bunch of characters, and then when one of those units gets charged, you're now firing 4 units of intercessors, re-rolling to hit, potentially re-rolling once to wound, into any unit charging you. Plus, from turn 2 onwards, you're walking up the board and just insta-shooting things off the table.
But is it the unit and 3 other units, or is it 3 units in total?
So, no, it's you use a stratagem, select up to 3 other friendly Ultramarines units.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I know, man. It's good. If you have that on Iron Hands as well, you would basically be Tau.
Yeah.
It'd be alright.
Yeah.
And this is why I like...
And you're probably better because you have a free up save.
And this is why I quite like the Ultramarines on an open board, because what you can end up doing is you can walk up and say, well, you've got nowhere for you to hide, so I'm just going to walk into your lines and just start shooting you off the board. Now, you can shoot me back, but you have 1 turn to do it, and I've got 80 wounds here because I've got 40 guys. And then afterwards, I'm going to be in the center of the board, and every time you kill one, I've got my banner. I'm just going to be shooting you back every time I die anyway. And then you can't charge me because you've got Overwatch today.
They nerfed the banner, didn't they?
I haven't seen it. It's in the relic section.
So,
right?
yeah,
so
in the normal
segue.
Spaceman Codex, it basically changed. The Banner of Emperor Ascendant went from, it used to be when you die on a 3+ you get up and shoot. Now they've just extended the range and something like that. So my my dream of re-bringing out my plasma pod has died a little bit of a death.
Still good. It's
Well,
on a 4-up. It's still
It's
good.
still okay, but but when
you
I'm
get that
investing
anyway,
like
yeah.
400 odd points in a drop pod and loads of plasma, 3+ made it worthwhile. I'm not sure the 4+ is.
Drop pod with grab. Now we're talking.
Speaking of extending the range, you also have a stratagem in the Ultramarine section, which is 1 CP called Inspiring Command. And what that does is it allows you to use it on a chapter master, a captain, or a lieutenant, and that model ends up getting a 3-inch increase to its aura abilities for the rest of the until the end of the phase. So you can spread out a little bit more from you lieutenant. You can drop that on it, and now it's suddenly a 9-inch aura of re-rolling once. And then when you combo that with the ability to drop the standard of Macragge in Violet, which is another relic, but you can drop that on a company ancient as well. And what that allows you to do is, as well as giving the ability to stand up and have a go before you finally go down when you die, what you can also do is you get an extra attack for every Ultramarine model from the unit within 6 inches of the banner. So now what you're doing is you're charging those intercessors. Okay, you're charging intercessors, fine. You're about to eat a good number of 20. Okay, it's easy. You're going to eat 80 shots from auto bolt rifles to your face as soon as you go in re-rolling to hit, rolling once to wound. Fine, you're into combat. Brilliant. They could now be veteran intercessors +1 attack. They could also have a +1 attack for having the standard of Macragge and Violet in there as well. And I think that's probably the relic you take because there aren't too many other ones that you'd really take on that kind of list. And then suddenly you're just getting hit back really, really hard. So now you not only do you have this brick that's walking forward, you have a brick that's actually very, very hard to charge without dying.
And hard to kill as well with all the other stratagems like the transhuman physiology.
Yeah, and difficult to get a jump on immediately because you can use rapid redeployment as a kind of phantasm to jump out the way. So the only real way to remove this thing is to outshoot it.
Well, it's a good thing that the game isn't going that way. I mean,
I know, right?
Yeah.
This is why I quite like the Ultramarine style list. Now, I've been talking about it a little bit, but we can get into that later when I start talking about the special characters.
Okay. Are we going to talk about special characters?
We can.
Should we bother with the relics? There's no point doing the relics, is there? Basically, I think there's one. I think there's one good relic in the Space Marine Codex, which is the Shield Eternal.
Okay.
It's basically
he got nerfed.
It's a storm shield, and it gives you a 5+ DPI against mortal wounds.
Okay.
It's all right.
So I do want to talk very quickly about one other relic in the Ultramarine section, which is called the Seal of Oath, which is quite important. So the Seal of Oath is at the start of the first battle round before the first turn begins. You get to select one enemy unit, and you can re-roll hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks made by models in friendly chapter units against that enemy unit, whilst they're within 6 inches of the go of the relic. So you become a mini Gulliman for one enemy unit only. It's actually quite good.
Nice.
So yeah, I like that one. I like the banner one. The banner one's more counter charge. I'm not sure if you necessarily need it, but so I'd probably end up taking Seal of Oath most of the time, just because that one scary unit gets to get in the sea. Like, just remove it, out, be gone.
I don't think there was many changes to the standard psychic powers that Marines had. Or was there?
Yes, I've not had a chance to look at the White Scars ones properly yet, so I can't really comment, but I have had a chance to look at the Ultramarines ones. So I don't know if you guys can pull up the White Scars ones.
I don't have the White Scars thing.
A couple of Ultramarines ones, which are really, really good. We've already talked about Psychic Shackles, which I really rate, but I also want to talk about Scryer's Gaze, which is one of my favorites when you're talking about building an Ultramarines army that can really regen command points quite a lot. And so what Scryer's Gaze does is it's a 7 value cast, but if you're casting it with Tiguris, it's only casting on a 6. And if manifested, your army is Battleforged, you can choose to immediately gain 1 command point. So you can do that every turn and just get a free command point a turn, assuming you pass power, which is absolutely insane. I mean, if you fail that, you can instead just pick a unit within 18 inches and they can re-roll a hit roll, a wound roll, and a damage roll a turn, which is like fine, but most of the time you're casting that for a command point.
There's one in the Obscuration discipline as well, which I think is the Phobos one called Mind Raid.
It is, yeah.
So Mind Raid is range 18. You do 1 mortal wound to a model, and then if your army's Battleforged, you get some CP if you beat their leadership or something like that. So there's a couple of ways to get.
Or 3d6.
Yes. You got to roll equal or greater to their leadership on 3d6. There's a couple of ways of getting extra command points in the Marine Codex.
Yeah, so that one's a good one as well, but then you have a couple of other ones in here very, very quickly. So you have something called the Empiric Channeling, which is effectively, it's only a 5 to cast, but then you get +2 to your remaining psychic tests, and then you don't perils on double 1s or double 6s. So it actually makes it very, very consistent for you to be casting these powers. So you can drop the Empiric Channeling, and then you can drop the Scry's Gaze of a +3 to cast, because now you have both the +2 from the previous power and you have a +1 for Tigurius, so you're very, very consistently getting that extra command point. And then you have the Storm of the Emperor's Wrath, which is very similar to what the Epitome has for Chaos Demons, whereby you just roll a model for every wound, a dice for every model in the unit, and on a 6 you cause a mortal wound, which I quite value when you're combining that with something like Psychic Shackles.
Yes, I agree.
Hello?
No, sorry, you've got a bit lost there, Tom. Sometimes you talk too fast for me.
Oh no, sorry. That's fine. It's just I don't know if it's an internet thing here that
bit
can
of lag.
do that, but
no, just good old fashioned brain lag from me, not internet lag.
No, I don't think that's true, mate. Come on, that'd be ridiculous. That's all right. Is there anything else that you like in the White Sky section?
Well, I think we talked about specifics quite enough. I mean, people can look into the codexes themselves. I'd really prefer to talk about the way we see the codex in the meta, what the intention is, and basically the way these Space Marines now have shook up my tournament games.
Okay, so I'm just going to make a quick editorial point. I'm going to ask you guys a question, and then we'll see what you guys really think of what's coming forward. So I'm going to put forward this, and then you can say agree or disagree. We are now going to see more Marnius Calgar in games than we will Guilliman. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Nikos.
I'm just going to disagree just to have the opposite side.
Okay, so Dick, why do you think we're going to see more Marnius Calgar?
Because you take Guilliman for rerolls and a counter attack. Calgar can counter attack as well. He has these enormous fists. He can probably do some damage. I don't know. I've never once looked at this profile because Guilliman exists.
So he's got 8 wounds. He's got 6 attacks. He's hitting on _2 strength with basically power fists.
Yeah, well, exactly.
But hitting on 2s.
Yeah. So no, he's probably half the points of Guilliman, a bit more.
So Guilliman is 350 points. Calgar is 200.
Yeah. Guilliman is a super heavy slot.
He takes up an entire detachment slot.
Yeah.
Calgar has 2. Calgar gives you 2 CP at the start of the game if he's your Warlord. Guilliman gives you 3. But the difference Calgar has is Calgar's Warlord trait is regen command points on a 5+, whereas Guilliman's is everyone around him can heroically intervene. So Calgar does a better job of regening command points. He doesn't take up a detachment slot. He still gives you the reroll to hit. He doesn't give you a reroll to wound, but with a points difference that you're saving from taking Calgar rather than Guilliman, what you're ending up doing is you can then invest in a lieutenant instead. And then you've still got points to spare afterwards as well. So what you end up with is if you are trying to take a, for lack of a better word, car park style list or or a floating gun line where you're walking around in a bubble and you're trying to do as much damage as possible, you end up taking Calgar because he's more efficient in every single factor. The only time I think you're taking Guilliman is when Guilliman has to wander off and do his own thing. And actually, in that regard, I think Guilliman's actually stronger now than he used to be. Because not only is he 50 points cheaper, so you have room to take other things, but he's also got access to the double fight. So now he can really go off and do his own thing. The problem you have with that is that you don't see as many of those lists. For example, I don't see a Space Marine list that allows Guilliman to go off and do his own thing as well, doing it like any of the jobs that would do as well as other lists. I think the list that you see him doing, Guilliman being allowed to do that in, are things like Knights. Potentially you could mix him in with Grey Knights as well, because if you have the 3 Nemesis Dread Knights and you have the, what are the things called that dash across the board? The Interceptors.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Interceptors. And they're all allowed to go off and do their own thing. Then Guilliman can work in there, but I don't think you see Guilliman in pure Marine lists. And I think the Marine lists will get more common now with this book.
And
I
also,
think
as
you're just
Camelot in
going
the
to see
chat
so
said,
many different.
sorry, Dave.
Yeah, no problem.
I was just going to say, as Camelot in the chat says that Calgar can walk through walls, whereas Guilliman
Because
can't.
he's infantry.
Yeah.
He can't even get his own Land Raider though.
Can't he?
No.
Oh, he's Primaris now, isn't he?
He's Primaris. Yeah.
Good job, everybody. Good job.
He now has a new
tiny
box to fly
the sky
around
now.
in.
I'm getting the sky now. Just give a quick shout out to Jim 1080. How you doing, buddy?
Hey,
I hope you're enjoying Dick's camera flickering all over the place.
Yeah. I hope you're enjoying the Dick cam.
Everybody does.
Everyone loves a bit of Dick cam.
Exactly.
So Mr. Kapowski also agrees with you. Calgar's cheaper, 2 XP, easier to hide, just a HQ slot rather than Lord of War, like you guys have said. Still gives the same rerolls.
Yeah. He just fulfills that role that you were previously taking Guilliman for better. No.
I just think initially we'll probably still see people taking Guilliman just because people are set in their ways and already have him. But then eventually people will probably transition away from him. But he's still an absolute monster in combat, though, isn't he?
Yeah, oh yeah, he is. He's still a beast. In fact, he's even more of a beast because he's got access to the double fire stratagem, right? So I'm still taking Guilliman, but then I'm taking him with Knights just because that's kind of the only place it works. Like, I don't think Calgar with Knights works as well because obviously Guilliman still gets back up and he can go and do his. He's a bit more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And he's less of a one-dimensional force multiplier. I'm not saying Calgar's a one-dimensional force multiplier at all because he's still got the ability to deliver a counterpunch. But if you're taking I think what you're trying
to say is if you look for something which buffs your existing army, you know, and it doesn't alter the way it plays, you take what's he called, the fizzy guy, Calgar, or Chapter Masters. And if you're looking for something that like gives you something which you don't have anywhere else, then you can look into Guilliman.
Whereas before you could actually justify Guilliman because the reroll to wounds was just absolutely so valuable. But now that the ceiling has dropped, it's maybe like, oh, maybe I don't need to spend like 150 points on just getting an inbuilt reroll once to wound and a guy who can get back up. Yeah. Maybe I don't need to do that. Maybe I can instead go for like a double battalion Marine army, and then I can go for something like maybe a Vanguard detachment or a Spearhead or something, just to fill in some Thunderfire cannons or what have you. But and then get the extra CP for it. But I don't think there's any need. I don't think you need to sacrifice a detachment that way anymore if you're wanting to build a list like that.
Agreed.
And that's what I think one of the things that's really good about this Marine book is there are so many ways you can go with it. I mean, we do say it's kind of like, oh, you're just deathballing an army, but the number of different directions you can go in doing that, and even to the degree the amount of weighting you can put into that, like I've already spoken about, maybe you stick 40 intercessors around characters and just walk it up the board, but equally maybe you only take like 20 or 30, and then you can just build out your backline more. I feel like
every Marine list should have at least 10 intercessors in. Just because they're really solid for their points, and there's a lot of good stratagems you can use.
I would go one further and say we should have at least 20, because that at least gives you some redundancy, whereas when you've only got one squad of 10 intercessors, unless you're playing Ultramarines where you have access to a redeploy stratagem and the ability to instantly drop the tactical doctrine on turn 1 with the other stratagems everywhere, then you kind of like the redundancy.
I think my list might trigger you a little bit, Tom, because I've got 8 intercessors.
No.
I mean, you can take a crappy list if you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
It just means it's 3 points for me.
I would probably take 20 intercessors and 10 of those infiltrator guys. I love those. The models
what are the infiltrator guys? Sorry, the eliminators.
The Phobos.
I have no idea. No. Yeah, the Phobos guys, like the normal troop guys.
The snipers.
No, not the snipers. The troops.
The things for blocking.
Yeah, the things that block deep strikers out.
Oh, one thing
just take 10. Put them up front of your army. This is going to be glorious.
So just before we go, I wanted to make one last kind of point. Drop pods.
Oh yes, we've got about drop pods.
So we've been bashing drop pods a bit in the past, and now what we've done is I've said, look, now drop pods ignore match play restrictions on when you can deep strike. Now, when I first saw this, the first thing I thought, along with a lot of other people, I thought was, that means it can drop down turn 1. That's cool. But it also means is you can drop down turn 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which is quite cool. So what I was thinking of doing is I could take 12 drop pods.
Yeah.
Turn 1, I drop 4 drop pods in someone's face.
Yeah.
Let's say that person then kills 2 drop pods. Turn 2, I drop 2 more drop pods in the gaps of those drop pods.
What if they kill him in combat though?
That's fine. Then I just drop. Then I have to get dropped 9 inches to the back, but it's still restricting your movement very heavily.
How much is these? But doesn't I know it's a dedicated transport, isn't it? It gets around the world for me.
Yeah, dude.
But so you're
All I'm saying
spending
is
still
trap someone in a
700
deployment
points.
You're spending so much power. You need to have turn 1 in order to do this.
Well, you could still do it on turn 1 if you're going second, but it just means that your opponent has time to fan out. Whereas what you can do is, let's say you're taking a bunch of those drop pods and then you're taking intercessors. They now have to remove all the drop pods while you're just pinging at them with intercessors. If they're a shooty army, they can't really push out as fast because they can't run into the drop pods because it's just like, well, that's kind of annoying. Although what you can do with the drop pods is you can just try and charge them and tag them because now the drop pods can't fall out of combat, so you have no way to ever shoot your opponent's army.
Yeah, that's the most annoying thing about drop pods. I think that was a
Yeah,
rule that I think they should have written. They should have put into the drop pods that you can still target enemies if they're only within 1 inch of a drop pod, because it makes no sense that you wouldn't shoot someone who's fighting a drop pod.
Although the problem you then have is you're then taking a gamble on when you come out of combat. Because if you kill the drop pod in one of your turns, then you're getting shot. If you kill the drop pod in one of your opponent's turns, you're not getting shot. But equally, you're going to spend a few turns there, which means you're just blocking movement for more time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like you should just be able to move through drop pods, and then they're fine.
Planes. It's like, I'll tell you what it is like. Because drop pods don't have to open all their
doors,
a building. You can just make like a moon. It just kind of comes around the front of someone's deployment zone and just laughs at you.
So drop pods would be quite good for like blocking flyers because they got a massive footprint. So if you have just a couple of flyers just to drop into space.
Yeah. Hell, dude! What you can even do is you can stick your intercessors on the front of your deployment zone. Now your opponent has to deploy back, and then you just stick all of your drop pods in the gap and laugh.
Yeah.
But this is exactly why I don't like it. I mean, this is just not cool.
Oh, it's a gimmick. It's 100% a gimmick.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I feel it's people are gonna do this, and there's gonna be a ton of feel bads the coming weeks.
I absolutely guarantee that there's some absolutely disgusting list that Games Workshop haven't thought of that someone's going to do, and they're going to have to reverse this decision at some point. They're going to have to fix what they think they fixed. All right.
Well, I mean, no, I like that they can come in turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's all good because that's the only way you can make a drop pod viable at all. I mean, unless you stick it full with plasma guys, apparently. But
I mean, I think there are things you can do with a drop pods that aren't necessarily that, but I just think that's funny and gimmicky, and it's the first thing that popped into my head.
Oh, yeah. I know, and I agree. It's cool. I mean, the idea is cool, but can you imagine someone doing that to you? I mean, at first I would be like, okay, you're a genius that you can do this, but after that I would be like super salty, and I would.
Quick question to round off on drop pods. Do we think that this change is enough to bring drop pods back?
Yes.
I think there'll definitely be a use for them. Like either I think people will have them in their list that will be specifically designed for early game, like early game stuff, or late game. Like I don't think you'll be necessarily using it in the middle of the game. I think it would just be like turn 1 or turn 5 and 6 to like get line breaker or just be a threat that something's coming.
Just donk on top of an objective.
Yeah, exactly.
Turn 5, donk on the drop pods come down. So my thing with this is it pulls more. It kind of pulls units away from that entire death ball idea that I was talking about. But that said, I still think there's enough of a utility for it that you can still bring drop pods and it still do okay. Whether we'll see them on the top tables, I am yet to be convinced because of the way that you control board space, particularly later in the game. But I think they'll at least be seen at events.
No, definitely. I think it's going to be the same with most of people are going to cry foul about it for the coming weeks, and then in a couple months it's going to be quieted down.
And everyone will have 9 eliminators.
No one will have 9 eliminators because you can't buy them.
That is
pretty expensive.
That is true. They'll have 9 crystals.
think
Black Crystals masquerading as
with
elimination.
cloaks on. Yes, exactly.
Rot by
Title
Vulcan in the
work.
chat has said that I think it's one of the custom chapter things you can do. You can have +3 to range of all your ranged weapons. So I think what he's suggesting is that you can do that on like heavy flamers and things like that. Drop them down in a drop pod, and just have like 4d6 heavy flamers straight away at range 11.
Have some of that. If
Pretty
only
good.
GT Lacoste didn't do it better.
But Marines can do it cheaper. Well, less CP. Less
yeah,
CP is what I
spending
mean.
80 points on a drop pod.
Less CP.
Well, less CP as a value, but less CP as a ratio. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, fair enough.
Cool. Anything else, boys?
I think it's hard to say exactly the power level of the Codex right now because I've not played a single game with it yet.
There's so much in it as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to digest, and there's lots of combos that I'm sure that'll come out that people will find. I'm just super excited.
I feel like
sorry.
I feel like people will have to relearn how to screen, and as soon as they know how to do this again, then Marines are going to be fine. They're going to win a couple of games, a couple of tournaments. Yeah, well, exactly. They're gonna alpha strike some noobs off the board.
Yeah.
And after that, Eldar will reclaim their rightful place in the galaxy, and all will be fine.
I'm just waiting for that new Eldar book, dude. It's going to be tasty. It's like
that.
my God.
Better not come before my Necron book.
It's like that meme of that guy bursting out from behind a tree, rubbing his hands together. Is what I'm currently doing.
Yeah. So you guys reckon that sort of Eldar and Necrons are going to get a similar sort of treatment, with sort of the mono focus?
Well,
I think
Eldar will get
that already.
I think Eldar will get the same kind of treatment with minor codexes, but Necrons no, because there's just not enough background for it.
There's still quite a lot of background for Necrons, but I want to see them.
There is, but not
elaborate on kind of a war in heaven and things like that, right? But
definitely,
we'll have to see what they do.
I mean, faction specific. I mean, sub-faction specific background.
I feel like we need to start a scale for Codex releases on this show. At one end, you have the Space Marine release, and at the other end, you have the Chaos Space Marine release.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And somewhere along this scale,
where are they going to fall?
Every publication.
Where are they going to fall?
Is it closer to Space Marines with 7 supplements, a PDF upon release for all of your different sub-factions, and lots of cool new models and units? Or will it be Chaos Space Marines where they change literally nothing apart from a new Obliterator model and give it more wounds?
Yeah, they got prayers, man. They got prayers.
Oh, I'm so sorry. We didn't even talk about the prayers in Marine.
No, we didn't. There's some pretty good prayers, to be fair.
But the one thing that you
They're so good.
Yeah, like plus 1 hit, plus 1 wound. They're my favourite.
Good.
Yes.
We didn't even talk about them because there's so much else.
Yeah. There's a lot.
It was the only thing
Codex reviews are really difficult because there's just so much to talk about. And I think really to do it really
for good codexes.
Yeah.
But and this is the hard one. This is a good codex. Even if it's not going to win every tournament, this codex is great because it gives people options. It changes the game. It changes meta. Everybody who has a Marine army is going to be happy that this codex exists.
This has been a great PR stunt by Games Workshop, hasn't it? Because everybody loves Marines.
Definitely. I mean, I fucking love Marines.
Do you even have a good guy? Do you even have a good guy Marine army, Dick? I know you got Night Lords.
I'm painting up some stupid good guy Marines, but they're not coming out the way I want them.
He's got some butt plugs.
Well, I'm not called Dick for no reason.
Hey! Oh no.
No, but I just got all the starter sets through trades, and then I just want to make a homebrew chapter out of them.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what I'm going to do.
Tell you what else we didn't talk about, the homebrew chapter rules.
Yeah.
Fuck those. Nobody's ever going to use those.
I was actually looking at last night at a list. I was thinking, can I make a 3 detachment list that has 3 custom chapters that just sort of maximizes, is there a perfect blend of 6 of those traits that can make a really quite nice 3 detachment army?
No.
Not going to be Salamanders, Ironclads, and whatever. It's
not as good as the normal ones. No, I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's still quite a lot here, but I still think we'll have this book worked out within the next 3 or 4
Yeah.
months. I don't think it'll be like Orcs, who are still struggling
Yeah.
with it now.
Okay, right. So
Well, I mean, struggle is not the right word. I think in a half a year, people are still going to find new combos with this codex. It's gonna be awesome.
I'm not sure, but we'll see, I guess.
all right. So I think we're probably going to end the show there because I'm pulling my hair out with this technology. It is really frustrating me. We had a nightmare with the sound at the start, and then Dick's camera is just, I don't know what's happening. It's just, I keep having to resize it and it's stressing me out.
It's okay. It's okay. The people who are listening can't hear the
No,
camera.
but they
So
can
it's
see
fine.
it flickering about, and it's frustrating me because we obviously want to do good shows and have good quality. But
No, of
thank
course.
you to Tom and Dick for coming on and coming on and do the show with me. Thank you guys.
Yeah, anytime, man. It'll be good to see you
Yeah,
in
thanks for
person
having me,
next
man.
That's good. I'm sure we'll get Dick on again at some point soon. Obviously, Tom and I will be back next week when Rob comes back from Canada.
week. Assuming he can escape the
Yes,
hospital.
if they let him leave, if he gets discharged. Thank you to.
Otherwise, we might have Dick again if he doesn't get discharged.
Keep yourself free, Dick. We might need you.
Yeah, don't discharge yourself.
So yeah, thanks to everyone in the chat. You guys have been great. Thanks to everyone on Patreon, YouTube, and
who
Twitch.
subbed and donated bits.
Yeah, thanks to Doodar Day for the bits. So everyone send your love to Rob. # thoughts and prayers for Rob.
Yeah, send him tea. No more Timbits.
All right, guys, we'll catch you later. All right.